Okay, welcome to Math. So in this lesson, we're going to do solving linear inequalities with a variable on one side. I will do other lessons where the variable is on both sides, and then I'll also work on compound inequalities. So I have 2 more lessons after this. So looking at this problem right here, it looks similar to a linear equation, but the difference obviously is this sign right here. This is a greater than. So the steps that we're going to do are going to be the same where you want to get the x by itself. It's just that the answer is going to be different. So with a linear equation, you're looking for that one x value that makes it true. With an inequality, there are going to be many answers, many x values that are going to make this inequality true. So let's go through the steps, and then I'll of course show you how to write the answer in different ways when we get to the end. So if I want to get the x by itself here, I want to move that 9 over first. So if I have a minus 9, I want to do the inverse, I want to add 9 to both sides. So I go ahead and do that. That gives me 4x is greater than 32. So then what I want to do is, if I want to get the x by itself here, I got to divide by 4, because this is 4 times x, so I want to divide by 4 to both sides. So when I do that, I get x is greater than 8. So what does that mean? That any value that is greater than 8 is going to make this true. And you could check it. You could just take, let's say 10. So if you put 10 in here, 4 times 10 is 40. Minus 9 is 31. 31 is greater than 23. And you can pick any number greater than 8, and then you'll see that it's true. Now, what if we want to put this on a number line? So if we're going to put this on a number line, I'll just put 0 here, and then I'll just put 8 over here. I don't have to go ahead and list everything. I just want to show you how you would do that with this inequality with greater than. So if you recall with these symbols, if you have a greater than or a less than, you're going to have an open circle, just an open circle. And if you have a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle on the number. So since I have just a greater than, it's going to be an open circle on the 8. Now I got to figure out which way am I going. X is greater than 8. Well, greater than goes to the right. So this is going to be just like this. So x is greater than, not equal to, but actually just greater than 8. So all my solutions are over here. Now, some of you might need to write the answer in interval notation. So basically, interval notation you get from your number line. You can pretty much get that from your number line. And the same thing kind of applies with your greater than or your greater than or equal to. The difference is if you just have a greater than or a less than, you're going to use parentheses. Parentheses if it's just greater than or less than. If you have a greater than equal to or less than equal to, you're going to use a bracket. The parenthesis means that you're not including that value. The bracket means that you are including that value. All right? And it's going to look like an ordered pair in interval notation, but again, it's either going to have parentheses or brackets or a combination of them. So if I'm going to, from x is greater than 8, and interval notation basically goes from least to greatest. So all the way on this side, remember, is the smallest number, which is negative infinity, and all the way on this side is positive infinity. So I'm basically starting at 8, but not including it, and going all the way to infinity. So the way it's going to look is it's going to be parentheses, 8, comma, negative infinity, and parentheses. Now, around infinity and around negative infinity, you'll always have parentheses because you don't include that number. It's a theoretical number. So you'll never have brackets around an infinity or brackets around a negative infinity. So again, this is just your inequality notation. That's your answer right here. This is your number line, and this is your interval notation. So all 3 of these are representations of that answer. So it just depends on what you need to, how you need to list the answer, depending on the question. So let's look at number 2. So again, it's going to wind up being a 2-step problem. So we want to get rid of that 5 first, because you want to, before you start doing a division, you want to get rid of your additions and subtractions. So this is a plus 5, so the inverse is going to be to subtract 5. So when I do that, I get negative 2x is less than 12. Make sure you take that sign down here with you. It's important. So now if I want to get the x by itself, I have negative 2 times x. I got to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Here's the thing. When you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So this becomes x is greater than -6. It's a common mistake students make, they forget to flip. So again, if you're dividing or multiplying by a negative, you have to flip that inequality. So this becomes x is greater than -6. So of course that means any x values that are greater than -6, if you plug them in, would make that true, which it works. So let's go ahead and put that on a number line. So I just put my 0 here. So here's my -6. Remember what we said about the open and closed circle? This is just a greater than, so it's going to be open circle on a -6. And it's greater than, so we want to go to the right. So it's going to look like that. Now, what students typically do is they just follow whatever this inequality is in terms of where it's pointing. So you see x is greater than -6, so they just say, oh, I'm just going to go to the right because this is pointing to the right. That's true as long as the variable is on the left side. See, this answer right here, I could write this like this. This means the same thing because you always read it from the variable to the number. So this means x is greater than -6. So if students happen to have the variable on this side and they got this answer and they follow the arrow, they would be pointing that to the left, which is not true. So again, the only way you can follow pointing the arrow is if the variable is on the left side. If it's on the right side, you have to read from the variable to the number. So x is greater than -6, x is greater than -6. So just be careful of that. And then interval notation here, remember we said if you have, I'll put my -infinity and my infinity. If you have an open circle, we're not including that value. So that would be parentheses starting at -6 and we're going all the way to infinity. And of course you don't put parentheses around infinity. So those would be the three ways that you can write the answer. You got your inequality, your number line, and your interval notation. All right, let's look at the last one here. So we got 6x plus 8 is less than or equal to 11. So again, I want to get rid of the 8, so I'm going to do the inverse of that. So I'm going to subtract 8. So that would be 6x is less than or equal to 3. And then I want to go ahead and divide. So I'm going to divide by 6. So I get x is less than or equal to, that's 1/2. Students look at that quick and they say 2 because they don't like getting answers that have a fraction, but it's a fraction, it's 1/2, which is okay. So now if we want to put this on a number line, I'm just going to put it between the two integer values that's there. So you have 0 and 1/2 is between 1, so I'll put that there, and that puts 1/2 right here. So you notice that we have the bar underneath, that means equal to, so it's less than or equal to, which means it's going to be a closed circle. So I'm going to do a closed circle here. And then less than means we're going to go to the left. So we're going to go all the way this way. And of course, this is my -infinity, and that's my positive infinity. I'm going to use that for interval notation. So let's go ahead and put this in interval notation. And whenever you have a less than, it's usually confusing for students with interval notation because you have to follow the number line. It's got to go from least to greatest. So you can't put, students would just want to put 1/2 comma -infinity. I'll write that right here. So to do 1/2 comma -infinity, and they might even use the right bracket because it includes it's equal to, and they do that. And that's just not true. It can't be true because -infinity is less than 1/2. Interval notation has to follow the number line. So you're starting all the way from over here. So you're starting from -infinity, and you're going all the way to 1/2. And then of course we use the bracket because we're including that value. So this is the proper way to write that in interval notation, which is why when it's less than, students have a hard time. So you start all the way from the left, starting from -infinity, and it's parentheses because you don't include it because it's the theoretical number, and then going all the way to 1/2, and we're including it so you have the bracket. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. There'll be more lessons to come. I got 2 more for solving linear inequalities, and you can find that on my YouTube channel at Math. And like my first period students used to say, make smart choices. See you next time.